Hello everyone and welcome to this new Python video. This is episode 2 of our new Python beginner series, and today we'll be doing variables. So what is a variable? So I want you to imagine that you have some information and a box. And what we do is we put the information in the box and we write a label and slap it on the box to tell us what is this information about. And that is in essence what a variable is. So let's say that we have a box called number and we have our number called, well, let's say the number 3. We're going to put the 3 in the number box with a label on the top of it saying number. That way we'll know that whatever in the box is a number. And it's the same with variables. So Python makes it very easy to write variables. So all we need is a variable name followed by the assigner and then the value. So I'm going to give you an example now. So we're going to go from our box example. So let's go number. That's our name. Our assigner will always be the same in Python. It's just an equal sign, one equal sign. Yeah, that's the assigner, and then the value. Let's continue with our example, and let's say the value 3. So that means that we have a box, and it's got the label on it, number, the name, and it's equals 3. The value inside the box is the number 3. So this is a very fundamental concept in Python. So be able to write variables, change variables, append variables. So this is what you need. So, and there's a couple of key ideas here. First of all is the convention in naming your variables. So the variables can be anything pretty much. But you cannot have a variable name. Let's say we wanted to write number 2. We couldn't have number space 2 equals, let's say 7. That wouldn't work because there's some white space in between these two things, so it cannot work. If you want to separate words out, you have to use an underscore. Yeah, that makes it okay. So now Python will be okay with this. So for example, I'm going to show you now just how bad this can be if you don't. So first of all, I'm going to show you how this would work. So I'm going to get rid of this first variable here, and let's say number 2 is 7. So everyone, make sure you click F5 to run this script, and we're not using any special idle editors here, IDEs. We're just using normal idle. So I'm going to run this, and of course nothing happens yet. But let's say I type out number 2, and it'll give me the value 7. So basically, this is that box idea. So this is the label. So we're asking Python what is in the box labeled number 2, and it's giving us the value back of 7. So now I'm going to show you what happens if you get white space in. So let's click up here and number 2 like that. Now if I run this code, we will get an invalid syntax because this is not a variable name. This is two separate things surrounded by white space. So it doesn't even know that it's to do with variables because at the moment it's just random. So there's no idea what's going on. So you have to have the underscore. So when you're separating words, usually use the underscore. You could also capitalize the second letter, but this isn't as commonly used in Python. So number 2 like that, and then we can set that to a value, and then this will work perfectly fine. You remember in the last video that we did the print statement, which is to output things to the screen. So I'll just put the number 2 in just to show you how it will actually work in a thing. So there we go. So it's restarted, and the value printed out is 7. So of course we don't just have to have numbers that we can put in. So variables can store any range of information. So there are different data types, and a data type is, well, pretty self-explanatory. Is the type of data, the form the data is in. So I will write up here data types. And by the way, this hashtag here stands for comment in Python. So we can write anything we want here and it will not affect the code whatsoever. And you use this when you're programming to give you little notes to remind you or remind other people that's reading your code what is going on. So I'm going to write the data types out here. So I'm going to write, the first type is integer. And also, if you want to do a big block of comments, you do the 3 quotation marks like that, and that's just a big block of comments. So I'm going to write it like this. So we have an integer. And this is just any sort of whole number. Yeah, it has to be a whole number. It could be negative or positive, it does not matter. The next type of data that you could have is a real number. This is also known as a float number, but real, I'll type it, I'll make sure it comes out. So real or float, and this is a decimal number. So I'll put some examples on the side as well. So let's say a whole number that's 10. So this is what we've been doing. So so that when we had our numbers like 7 and 3, that's what we were doing. So a decimal number, of course, you know, like 7.8 would be a real or a float value. We also have a string value. So a string value is just a sentence. And it was what we were doing last time when we did the print statements. We had our little quotation marks and we were putting a sentence in there. That's a string value for the variable. So let's say, I don't know, so we would have some quotation marks and we would go, hello world. That's what we did last time. So that's a string. So it's a sentence. And the final type that we'll go on to now, because there is more complex ones, like an array, but for now, the last type is a Boolean value. And a Boolean value is the most simplest value because all you need is you really need one bit to represent this, because this can either be true or false. And that's it. So it either has a value of, so when I mean one bit, so a bit could be 0 or 1, which is what computers use to understand things. So a 1 could be true and a false could be 0, so it only has 2 values. This is the most simple type, a Boolean value. So now if I write variables out, I'm going to show you, and we can actually use the variable names to do a demonstration of this. So I'm going to write integer. So we've already done this one, so integer is 3, so then we could print integer. So with a print command you can also put variables in, of course, just like how you would do with strings and that. So integer is 3, and we'll do a real, and we could put this at 7.8, not 78. 78 is an integer, and then we can print real. And then we could also have string, store a string, and remember we need quotation marks, so we can either have double quotes or single quotes. Doesn't really matter. I like using double quotes personally. So let's say that this is hello, I'm Mikey. There we go. That's a string. So it's just a sentence in quotation marks, and then we can print that. We'll print the string, and then our final one we will have a Boolean. So let's write Boolean. See how this is a actual function, bool, but Boolean is not. Boolean is when you have it purple, it will mean it's a function, but when it's just black like normal, this will just be a variable name, as long as you have the equal sign, of course. And then you can set this to true or to false, and it has to be capitals. Capital first letter, sorry if you can see that. So a true or a false, like that. And it must be capital F. In other languages it doesn't have to be, but in Python it must be capital T or capital F. So I'm going to set this to true. And then we'll print Boolean. So let's run this code and let's see what we get. So we got all our values out. So we got 3, as in our integer value, 7.8, hello, I'm Mikey, and true. So these are all our values that we have, and we have all these different types. And so this is how we know that we've done it correctly, because there's no errors or anything. So finally, you can take variables and you could combine them into another variable is the last thing that I'm going to talk about. So let's say I have number, and I can make this equal to integer multiplied. If you don't know multiplied, well, I suppose we'll do the plus for now. Plus real. So then if I try and print number out, we will get, instead of anything else, we'll get 10.8, because 10.8 is 7.8 plus 3. So we get this number. So that is basic kind of addition of variables. So I hope that was very helpful for everyone watching. So we covered all our basic data types, along with how to actually form a variable, and hopefully a firm understanding of what a variable is. So it's this container where you keep data. So I hope that has been very helpful for everyone else. If you have enjoyed and you have learned something, please subscribe and hit that like button, and I will see you all in the next one.